Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Good Love Podcast, a Good Love Project production with your friendly neighborhood sex geek and good lover, Katrina Boots Rainsong. Here at the GLP, we strive for informed, enthusiastic consent, so this is your content warning. The Good Love Podcast is a sex and relationship education podcast directed to adult listeners. We offer playful, powerful, and positive education on sexuality, pleasure, kink, sexual health and wellness, and a slew of other grown and sexy topics. If you find any of these topics objectionable, you're welcome to skip an episode or even the whole show. If you're under 18, we recommend heading over to scarleteen.com for all youth-focused sex ed needs. Now, if you're an enthusiastic yes, get comfy and enjoy the show.
Hello, good lovers. It's Good Love Cat, and I have a guest with me today, guest host. In our last episode, I went on one of my tirades, like I sometimes do. I wouldn't call it a tirade, a celebration, maybe a bit of both, talking about Female Orgasm Day. And of course, I wanted to make sure that all of you humans, all you lovely good lovers with penises out there, didn't feel left out. So this follow-up episode, we're going to be talking about penis pleasure and misconceptions and a lot of misinformation around male sexuality. And so for that, I am bringing on a special guest host. This host is, I feel like I haven't known you quite long enough to call you a dear friend, but a new friend that I definitely enjoy hanging out with. He's a somatic-based sex and relationship coach who supports people in reclaiming their agency, exploring their desires, and having the best sex of their lives. He's studied sexuality, meditation, psychedelics, and conscious leadership. He has been in a peer-led men's group dedicated to personal and spiritual growth for 10 years. Before becoming a coach, he earned a BS in mechanical engineering from CU Boulder and developed his career through engineering, project and program management, and then led teams in climate tech. Today, he brings that same passion and precision to the intimate realms of sexuality and relationships. He is SexCoachSam. Hi.
Hi, so good to be here.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to get you on the podcast for a minute, so this seemed like a really great way to get things started.
Yeah, I feel excited. I'm glad you reached out to me about the misconceptions around male sexuality because there are so many.
So many, and I think often the misconceptions around female sexuality and pleasure, vulva and vaginal health and all of that, right now, for the last few years, it's been getting a lot more attention. And there's still a lot of assumptions that are just being kind of held as just a given about men and their bodies and their relationships to sexuality and intimacy. So let's bust the fuck out of some of these misconceptions today.
Sounds great.
Yay. Awesome. What do you got for us?
So I looked into some of these just to kind of have a handful prepared and ready to talk about. So we've got a pretty big list that we can just go for it.
Sweet.
Yeah, so the first one we'll start with is that men are always ready for sex.
Wait, they're not? I am going to be your foil in this.
This is one that you see in movies and you hear it. It's just kind of all around books, popular culture about men just being ready for sex all the time.
Down to do it anywhere, anytime, almost with anyone, sometimes. Yeah. And that sounds toxic as fuck.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure to just be ready for sex all the time.
Right.
So yeah, I just want to say men have desire that fluctuates just like anyone. And of course, desire is a big topic and goes up and down for so many different reasons in our lives throughout our, based on how old we are, changes in the day, changes in the minute. And so that's just something that's always alive for most men, all men.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I think it's especially important to point out for um, people who are on like the asexual spectrum too. There's often um, assumptions made about men who are ace that like, oh well, you're probably just gay or da, da, da. I'm like, no, no, like that's its own thing. And I think male demisexuals get ignored a lot too.
Yeah, exactly. I have a lot of gay men that I see as clients who require a little bit of connection, just a little bit of something. And there's so much grinder culture, like hookup culture, where it really says just like we're all poles and holes and we're just here to fuck and there's no connection. There's often not even like a hey, how are you? It's just like send a dick pic, are you down to fuck? And yeah, a lot of gay men I work with really struggle with that because they actually just need a little bit of connection and they need something. And it's not years worth of getting to know someone, but just a little bit of connection goes a long way. And the predominant culture says that that's, not really the case.
Right. Yeah. And that goes like so far back, like just culturally within the culture of gay men with cruising and bathhouse culture and, um, having to be, literally having to sneak around. And, now like we're in a realm where like we're in a time in history where we are more free to love. Maybe not as free right now as we were a couple of years ago. Things are a little sticky right now. But yeah, I think it's so important for us to finally have that experience of queer love and queer connection.
Love it.
What's next?
Yeah, so the next up is a classic, which is bigger equals better.
Yeah. Yeah. Super like just hyper fixation and anxiety around penis size.
Yeah, pretty much everyone, myself included, has had we spend so much of our time thinking about like, is my cock the right size, and is it big enough? Is it, there's so much nonstop. You cannot turn on the radio and hear a song that like any rap song will not talk about cock size and how important it is and how big they are, and it's associated with so much bravado and assertiveness and like dominance, and it's so important. But in reality, it's just not that important.
It's really not. And yeah, that's part of something I refer to as metaphorizing the body, which is something that's just, as a society, as humans, we often tend to do, where we look at someone and we look at their body and go, oh, okay, well, you look like this. So I'm going to assume, you look like X, so I'm going to assume Y about you. Like, oh, you have a big dick. Well, then you must be really great in bed and super like down to fuck all the time, high libido, and just basically this like hyper masculine, hyper sexualized image. And then of course and then we also say like the opposite if someone is smaller, and like none of these things are related.
Right.
Like none of these things are actually related. Like the size of your cock literally doesn't mean anything about you.
You can be a very dominant person with a really small cock, and you'd be a really submissive person with a huge cock. Doesn't really make a difference.
Can confirm one of my subs is hung like a fucking donkey, and like it's locked away in a cage almost all the time. I had trouble finding a cage to fit him, but what are your thoughts? I would love, this is slightly veering off from busting misconceptions, but I would like to ask, what are your thoughts on like the small penis humiliation kink? Have you given much thought to it? Is it something that you've like talked with, that's come up with any of your clients?
I had it with one client, and we actually got to explore it a little bit. I think that goes into really people's like core desires of like how do you want to feel, and the cock is such a cultural symbol and such an important thing that in terms of like humiliating people, sometimes that can really hit right to the core of your insecurity to just like say to someone that you have such a small cock and that you're worthless and that you'll never be able to please anyone. So it can be a really nice target for folks who want to be humiliated in those ways, because it has so much weight to it, and it can be such a big insecurity for folks.
Right. Yeah. It definitely carries a big charge.
Mm-hmm.
I have to admit, when I started getting requests for it in content or like when doing my phone sex work, my like sex educator, like body positive advocacy brain was like, no, 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 no. Like, I don't want to reinforce this. And I feel so bad. And now, like, especially after talking to some people that are into it, I know, like, and I don't know why I didn't put the two things together really, because often, like, kink and role play gives us permission to, like, to be this particular part and explore this. So, like, and like, particularly with humiliation and degradation play, I'm talking to a few different guys. They're like, well, I have this voice saying this in my head all the time anyway. And so, like, going to like a kink club or a dominatrix or their partner or whatever and throwing it into a scene, it allows them to like externalize that like anxiety and insecurity and get it out of their head.
Yeah, and you get to play with it. You get to eroticize it. Like, oh my God, you have this voice that's sitting in the back of your head telling you you're worthless and you're so small and you'll never please anyone for the rest of your life. How fun to eroticize that, get turned on with it, and use it for your own pleasure. It can be super empowering.
Totally.
And to your earlier point of being cautious around this as a sex educator, there's so much potential harm here too, so we really have to like be thoughtful of when we're going to use this stuff and just recognize that like people are out in the world doing whatever they want, causing harm to each other in consensual ways. So
yeah, there's only so much we can do.
Yeah, and I think the important thing is that we're just looking at people's agency of like, do you want to do this? Consent's the biggest one. If you want to do it, great. And then if you want to go later, deeper as a sex educator, or, as for me as a sex coach, it's like, what is your intention? Why are we doing this? And if it's to, grow in some way, free this part of yourself, eroticize this part of yourself, that's fantastic. And if it's just to get off, sometimes that can be okay too. It just depends what type of container you're in.
Right. And as long as you're not like, if it's not causing or reinforcing like those self-esteem issues that then like go out and then leak outside of the bedroom or the dungeon.
Yeah, and that one is a really important one if you're working with clients, to just kind of be checking in on and seeing if we are going in that direction or if it's more empowering.
And I've even had like clients who are like not small that enjoy it, which also like kind of threw me for a loop for a little bit. I'm like, I can't say this to you. I see it. This is a lie.
Challenges your integrity.
I'm just like, this doesn't make sense to me. And then that going, it's role play.
Yeah, and I think that's an important point of there's so much body dysmorphia out there where people think there's something they're not, right? Is that body dysmorphia?
Yeah.
So they think that their cocks are really tiny and that they'll never be able to do anything with it. And actually it's like average or even above average. So there's just so much. I think it's important to highlight some of the cultural messaging that has us expecting. If we watch porn, obviously, like if you go on Pornhub, the front page, like all the cocks are fucking huge.
Yeah.
And so you might just sit at home watching porn and think, oh my God, my cock is tiny. When in reality, it's like Pornhub is like the 0.1% of cocks.
Right.
That makes it seem like the majority.
It's interesting that we do that so much with porn, but we don't do that as much with like, you're watching sports. If you're watching, I don't know, football or whatever sport people watch, because I don't watch sports.
Sports that people watch.
There isn't as much anxiety over not being built like a football player,
Mm-hmm.
and yet, and yet when it comes to, and that's more real, and that's more real life and more realistic than porn, which of course is, portraying fantasy. And yet that ability to separate fantasy from reality, for some reason with porn, just gets suspended so much.
Yeah, it gets lost.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually get so annoyed on that, like watching porn videos on Pornhub in particular, which is why I try to stay away from it and use other sites. But I've like searched like small cock porn just to find like a regular size cock to see like how does that look in porn, because there's just so blown out of proportion. It's wild.
It really is. Yeah, a lot of times, especially with mainstream porn, we're going for the extreme. So like extreme big boobs, extreme big ass, extreme big cock, and extreme activities. And there's nothing wrong with any of those as long as we recognize that that's what they are. Like, side note, like Pornhub and other tube sites suck. Hashtag pay for your porn. I gotta say it. Well, let's move to like another misconception.
Want to jump to the next one?
Yeah, the next one. I know one that's really, really common is the idea that men are more sexual than women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This one is a frustrating one.
Yeah, and that kind of connects again with the men being always down for sex. Like, yeah.
That men are always down for sex and women are never down for sex.
Yeah. Yeah. When I see that being portrayed like a lot to like in media, like especially when it's like done like played for laughs in like sitcoms and stuff, like I can't even watch it anymore. I'm just like, oh God, it's just, this husband and wife that like apparently love each other so much, but he's always feeling sexually deprived and like begging or pushing or coercing or whatever. And she's always feeling like tired and not wanting and not turned on and trying to find reasons or excuses that, oh honey, I have a headache to get out of it. I'm like, this feels gross and rapey and shitty and I hate it.
It's terrible. Yeah, it starts to really like grind the gears after a while. It does not feel good watching those.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, and there's a lot of, I see a lot of couples where, I mean, it's all sorts, right? You have couples that are, and we're talking hetero couples in this moment, but, even same-sex couples is a great example where, of course, there's always going to be desire discrepancies. So if you have like a gay relationship, there's always going to be one who's more sexual or one who wants sex more and one who wants sex less. And so it just gets played up as a trope so much in hetero relationships. And I have hetero relationships where I have women who want sex more than the guy. Of course, that happens too. And so just normalizing that, it's really challenging when we have these cultural messages that say that things are always one way. Men are always more sexual than women.
Yeah, that's the whole men are from Mars, women are from Venus. Yeah. Men blue, women pink. Just, that intense binary.
Yeah, and I think it can lead to a lot of scarcity mindset. I know for me, dating in the past, I've had this come up where I've been afraid of like, oh no, I'm never going to have sex because women don't want to have sex because that's just ingrained in my mind. And so then it just creates the scarcity of like, oh, women are not going to want to fuck me or it's going to take so long. And it's really can just bring in a lot of extra challenge that doesn't need to be there. And I actually think about this a lot when I think about, when I am, because I primarily date women, that like, oh, women just want to have sex too. And I've gotten to experience that at play parties and gotten to experience that out in the world. And it's so nice and relieving actually to know that like women want to have sex too. It's not just men. It's a really harmful one that gets stuck in the brain a lot.
Yeah, definitely. Right. Ooh, right. This next one is a heavy one. I was going to say spicy, but it's not even spicy. It's heavy.
Yeah.
the assumption or the misconception that men don't experience sexual trauma.
Yep. Because men are supposed to be always willing, ready, and full of desire, then they couldn't be raped or coerced or convinced of having sex that they don't want to have.
Right. Because they're down for, because there's no such thing as sex that they don't want.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if you just even think about how hard it is to convict someone of sexual assault or rape or anything in our current fucked up legal system, when it's males conducting violence against females, you can think of how absolutely impossible it is for our system to uphold any justice for men that have experienced sexual violence, either by men or by women.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like regardless,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and often men themselves don't even like, you know, like the number of times I've had guys tell me some kind of story, and I'm like, wow, that was super not consensual. And I don't say anything because I'm not gonna like project on them, but like, you know, the way they like, you know, some of them kind of laugh it off, like dark humor, gallows humor, or, you know, I think throughout my life, I've always been like the cool chick friend that you can talk to. So, you know, having men like share their story with me, like you're the first person I ever like told that to, or like you're the first person that you're the only person I've ever told like the whole story to, and I don't know, like I wasn't raped or anything, but like I kind of feel like it was kind of fucked up, and I'm like, nah, bro, like
that was rape.
Like that is what happened,
Yeah.
and it's okay for you to like say that and to own that, and it's okay for you to be mad about it. It's also okay for you to like maybe you're not mad about it and we recognize like, yeah, that was fucked up. I'm not broken up about it, but it was wrong. You know, like
yeah, you can have
like whatever, just like whatever it is, owning your experience as yours rather than what society says that it should be because you're a man.
Exactly. Yeah, and normalize all type of reactions and experiences that people have to sexual violence or trauma. Sometimes people can experience sexual violence or trauma, and it doesn't affect them in huge ways, and sometimes it does, and both of those are totally normal reactions. So I just want to share some kind of common forms of male sexual trauma, which would be childhood sexual abuse, where studies estimate 1 in 6 boys experience some form of sexual assault before turning 18. Most are never reported, which is just so many. It's just a staggering number.
Yeah, and because so many go unreported, it's very possible that that 1 in 6 number that it's actually higher than that.
Yeah, really prevalent in our society. And yeah, another common form is coercion or assault in adulthood, where men can be victims of assault, again, by women or men. Coercion, threats, or intimate partner sexual violence often goes unrecognized. And then the last one is exposure to sexual violence, so witnessing abuse, and of course, naming the systematic coercion, like hazing in fraternities or in the military.
Oh my God, yeah. I living back when I was living in Arizona, I lived next to a frat party house. Like there was a frat party house that like was next door to mine, and yeah, like ASU in particular was like has had been in the news often for violent hazing or like hazing rituals that have gone horribly wrong, like to the point of like people have died. Like yeah, it gets crazy. And yeah, there's so much around it. There's like so often there's like a sexualized component to a lot of like all male hazing rituals, you know, and that like, and yet these like same guys that are doing this are also ones who would be like, you know, very loudly homophobic or transphobic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they bottle that up into the hate that they pour into their pledges or people that are kind of victims of their systematic abuse.
Mm-hmm.
And we just create such a culture of normality around. We normalize that, right? So it's like, oh, it's not a big experience. Everyone goes through that, or it's not that different. I had that when I was a kid, that sort of thing, which is just really normalizing a culture of sexual violence and assault.
Yeah. Yeah. I think another trauma male sexual trauma that doesn't get talked about too is just the intense isolation and shaming of our culture.
Mm-hmm.
And like working with male clients, whether as educator or coach or as a dom, like the number of men are like, are desperately afraid of their own desires, their own like interests and fetishes. They have like intense shame around it, and they go through these like almost binge and purge type cycles of diving into whatever their particular sexual interest is, and be like, okay, no, 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 I'm not that way. And they've spent hundreds of dollars on toys or maybe women's clothes because they want to like cross dress or whatever it is, and then like throwing it all out and like, I'm trying to go cold turkey, I'm never going to do that again.
Which of course doesn't work.
Which doesn't, yeah. And then like like trying to, because we know that you like, for the most part, if someone has a fetish, they have it for life. Like that's just an ingrained part of who you are.
Yeah.
And
the more you try to shove it into the closet, into the darkness, into the shadows, the more it comes out in weird, non-consensual ways.
Yep, exactly. And then having these men telling me about, finally getting the guts to talk to their partners about it and how painfully badly it can go. Just the intense rejection, because we pathologize men that have these and not just men. I mean, like women also get like, people like of all genders can get pathologized for their kinks, but particularly when it comes specifically to fetishes, men definitely take the brunt of that shit.
Yeah, absolutely. And the sad part is for almost every fetish I can think of, every fetish that's come through that I've worked with, there are consensual ways to get it met. And so it's really it's just a shame that we kind of shove these things into the darkness and we're not okay, and people judge you and shame you for it. In reality, it's like just a normal part of your sexuality. And
it's just human variation. Like the amount of stigma, even on something as simple as just like feet. Foot fetish is the most common. And
it gets made fun of so much in the media.
So much. It's like, oh, haha, this person's, like, oh, he's into feet. He probably is this, like, it's like this intense quick jump to like guys into feet to like, oh, he's a serial killer or a bedwetter or like whatever. And I've had clients like tell me like, yeah, I like talked to my wife about it, and like she thinks it's disgusting. She thinks I'm disgusting. Like, and so we just kind of like silently agreed to like never bring it up again, or like we tried to to go into like to experiments thing once, and like my partner said they never want to see me like that again, and like we just lock it away. And and I'm just like, oh man, like when I'm on the phone with these guys, like I'm trying to stay like in character, but like my heart is like breaking for them. I'm just like, oh my God, here you were like had this like super vulnerable moment, and we're just rejected and shamed so harshly, and how damaging that is. And as a society, there's like very little support for that, because largely the society is part of what's shutting down and shaming it and being like, well, yeah, you should feel bad. Like, you should feel bad. You do need to put that away. And like, how dare you throw that onto your partner? And
in reality, I just want to say, who the fuck cares? Like, jerk off to some feet. It just doesn't really matter. You want to, like,
Right.
get a foot job once in a while. Like, who cares? We've normalized like hand jobs. So hands on cocks is okay. But if you like feet on your cock, then you're a serial killer. Who
Right.
cares? Put some feet on your cock. Jerk off with some toes. Whatever.
Whatever.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, regardless of like what it is. Okay, you like to watch women pee, but there are videos for that. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah.
Like,
It's so painful that we just shove this away and make it so hard to live with those things.
yeah.
And before we close out this section, I just want to say to men who have experienced sexual trauma, we see you, we support you, and your experience is real, your reactions are real. I just wanted to say that.
Yes. It's important. Let's say the word intimacy.
This one's kind of fun, which is that male sexuality is rigid. That male sexuality has to be rigid. Can be in so many categories, but the category I wrote down was like you're straight or you're gay.
Right. Yeah. It was like that joke about like a guy builds 100 bridges, call him a bridge builder, but if you suck one cock, then you're a cocksucker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like, or maybe you're not.
Yeah, maybe you're just experimenting and trying something out. Like, how many other aspects of life can you try something out? Like, you can go to the batting cages and hit a ball. You can go to the golf course and hit a ball. You can try literally anything out. You can take a music lesson. You can sing, and no one will be like, "Oh, you're a singer. Oh, you're this. Oh, you're that." Like, obviously, whatever. But if you experiment with men or you play around, then all of a sudden you're gay and you're not straight, which doesn't really matter. It's okay, any any orientation is great and celebrated, and it's just used to kind of judge and shame people into sticking into a very rigid box.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And often, yeah, it's used to as part of like the be a straight man box. Don't do this. That's gay. That's gay. This is, and the number of things that get listed as like, oh, that's like suspicious. That's kind of gay. It's like, what, hygiene?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
let's list a few things that are in this box. Hygiene being a big one.
Right.
Any makeup at all. Oh, if you do that, then you're gay. Anal pleasure is a really big one that gets kind of lumped into this box, like, which is just a part of the male body. There's a prostate and it feels good. There's a
Right.
there's
Yeah.
a G spot in your asshole and
Yeah.
it feels good.
But the number of like messages I get, like, hey, like I've discovered that I really enjoy anal. Does that make me gay? I'm like, well, are you specifically wanting to have anal with another man? Well, no. Then no. Like, and there are gay men that don't have anal sex.
Yeah.
Too. Like,
yeah. Yeah, we've gotten a lot of wires crossed around this one as a society.
Yeah. Yeah. There's like, I don't know. I joke that like straight people think about gay sex more than gay people do sometimes. Like just trying to figure out like how far is too far. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I just want to say an invitation to straight men who are curious: go and make out with a guy. It's really not that crazy, I promise you. There's nothing that wild about it.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like women don't get really good. That is one of the few places where women generally have more freedom. Like, like two girls can make out at a party and it's just like, oh yeah, you were just having a wild time. It was college, it was drinks, it was a fun and sexy moment, and like, gay until graduation is a thing sometimes. Like, you are like have your lesbian time while you're in college, and then you like grow up and like marry dude. And it's like, and also the thing with both of those two is like the intense bi erasure that like that also happens.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then there is like a phenomenon of like men who do hardcore identify as straight that do still have like sex with other men. And like, and that one is kind of like funky because on the one hand, yeah, I don't want to be like, oh, well, you're gay now, da da da. At the same time, sometimes and this is just me being me and having my own thoughts, and really, like, at the end of the day, guys, do what you want, and like my thoughts about it don't fucking matter, and neither does anyone else's. But part of me's like, are you calling yourself straight because you don't want to lose your straight privilege?
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
There's a lot of reasons behind that one. Yeah, I get kind of tripped up on that one around the labels because it's my job to support people in finding the right labels that help them if they want. Some people don't give a shit about labels, which is fine. But for people that do, to find the right labels that feel aligned for them. And so for straight men that love sucking cocks or love hooking up with men once in a while, I want to encourage them to like find the label that feels the best. And I do question, and I can work with folks on this with question, is there just a bunch of, like, what's in the way of you choosing a different label, whether you're bi or pan, or heteroflexible or something else? Is there something that, like, is there, and generally this is like internalized homophobia, is that what's holding you back from that label? And if it's just the label that feels accurate, great. Some monogamous couples fuck people every once in a while and still call themselves monogamous, great. If that's what works for you. And it's worth checking out sometimes if there's some internalized homophobia that's in there that you want to do it for a specific reason, or like you said, don't want to lose out on some privilege associated with a label, which has a lot.
Yeah, I definitely know some like male they're like subs in the kink community that, like, for them, like, their orientation, their like sexual and romantic orientation is hetero, is straight, but part of their subbiness, especially, like, or like their humiliation or degradation kink, is getting used by other men.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Like that one.
Yeah. I do too. I do too. I love, like, hearing my bitch boy telling me, like, he always reports back to me stories. I went to the bathhouse and like this happened, and I'm like, ha, you slut. Right. Yeah. So there's, I think, what it comes to is, that, like you said, that rigidity and that, like, black and white thing, and that either or, when, like, sexuality is so, like, wide and nebulous, and that's for everyone regardless of gender.
Yeah, and we just cut off. It's like looking at a rainbow and saying we're only going to enjoy the color purple. Like, we just cut off so much pleasure from ourselves and so much potential spectrum by limiting ourselves with these silly beliefs and falsehoods.
True. Although purple is the best color.
Well, if we want to choose one.
It's just my favorite.
Ready for the next one?
Yes. Let's go. Let's head up.
So we touched on this a little bit, but just to say it explicitly, this misconception is that male sexuality is predatory. A lot of men learn that their desire is harmful, and so this can go with kinks and fetishes that we talked about, but even just more vanilla sexual desire. If they put that on their partners, then it's harmful. And so I just see a lot of clients who come to me will be really afraid to have any desire at all because they think it's just harming somebody else.
Yeah, I have definitely seen that. I've seen that with some partners. And obviously, like, we do have to look at, the history and cycles of harm that has happened in the world, and male privilege and all of that, and consent culture. But I think too, sometimes we overcorrect.
Yeah, exactly.
We overcorrect to the point of, like, a detriment. Yeah. Really.
And that's, I think, as a society where we're at, sort of post-MeToo movement, is a lot of men just being terrified, absolutely terrified of their desire. And so I think it's important to recognize, when we have this harmful sexual desire, and when we just have our run-of-the-mill sexual desire that most of us have. And it's important to look back on our own, to just be introspective about our own sexuality and our own desire, and maybe check in with partners or have a conversation around it, because we do want to like dial that in, and we want to swing the pendulum, not from, on one side it's full abuse and sexual violence, and on the other side it's being really meek and afraid and withholding 100% of your desire. And so we have to be able to, as a society, have a conversation that we can find a middle ground and find where desire is celebrated and consensual and brings a lot to the table.
Yeah, because that fear also breeds resentment, which is what we're seeing with like the incel groups and stuff.
Yeah, when you shut down your desire and you shut down your sexual energy, you shut down a lot of your life force. So it's just going to go all weird and backwards. And like you said, towards incel culture or towards more hate culture in different ways.
If there's one piece of like wisdom that like my mom gave me that I really deeply believe in, I remember she used to always tell me, things fester in the dark. And yeah, that's so true for like anything that's like internal, whether it's our sex drives, your mental health, like your orientation. When you're like repressing and shoving it down and shoving it into the dark, it festers.
It does not go well for anyone.
It does not go well for anyone.
Yeah, and so doing that with desire is no different. The more you shove it in the dark, the more problems you're going to have, whether it's your own health or your own hate or your own emotional well-being. There's going to be effects to that.
Yeah, totally. And I think too, the other side of that, that misconception that like male sexuality is immediately is as automatically predatory, like that also affects, that also affects women, like, with being unsure, being afraid, or just like, or if the guy is being meek, then, I see like women like get frustrated and like it becomes like this emasculating thing too. Yeah, I'm just, I don't know. I remember having a conversation with someone. There was a debate around like, if you think about having sex with someone, is that a consent violation? And I was like, dude, are we what?
Whoa.
Yeah. Like, well, because, like you're energetically sending, that towards them and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, are you? Like, I don't give a fuck what someone thinks in their head when they look at me. Whatever's going on in y'all's head is your business. Now, if you like come to me and tell me about it, now you're bringing me into it. Now you're making it my business, and I will respond however it is I'm gonna respond. Well, thanks, that's flattering, or I'm really not cool with that. I don't want to hear that from you, or oh, that's lovely to me, whatever it, or oh, me too. Let's go. Whatever it is, but yeah, I have, and this I see this a lot, like kind of in more like new agey spaces. But yeah, this idea that like any amount, and this goes beyond gender, any amount of sexualizing the other is automatically predatory or objectifying, and so thereby like it's bad and it's wrong and I'm like, we're humans. We see each other.
Yeah, normalize all sorts of desires and fantasies and all the things that happen in our minds. I mean, that one just feels like it really just comes from sort of
it's purity culture.
Yeah, purity culture, where your thoughts are sinful. So certain types of thoughts are sinful.
Yeah.
Just a thought, it's just a fantasy. If it's not hurting anybody, go for it. And if it is hurting somebody in your fantasy, great. Fantasize about it.
Right.
As long as you're not non-consensually hurting people out in the world, wonderful. Bring it in.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, the last point I was going to make on this one is that there are so many women. I experienced this a lot in my coaching course. I got to be through, and I went through my coaching course at the Somatica Institute, and then went right back in. It was a year and a half program, and went right back in for another round to be a group leader because I loved it so much. So I'm in it now. So I've just gotten to hear, it's anywhere from I think 85 people to 110 people in the cohort, and you get to hear a lot of sexual fantasies.
Oh,
And I
wow.
just want
Yeah.
to say there are so many women who fantasize about like gangbangs and men
Yep.
manhandling them and being rough with them and just men being in their pure carnal male desire. So
Mm-hmm.
that is so wanted in the world as long again as it's consensual. It's so wanted by so many people, women and men and all genders.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It comes down to, yeah, consent.
Yeah. Yeah. We kind of touched on one of these. Let's do just the last one here, which is
Yeah.
that having a hard cock means you're ready and wanting sex. So the shorthand version, which is that a hard dick is
Right. Yeah. Nope.
consent.
Not true.
No, yeah, people equate physiological arousal, having an erection with emotional or psychological desire. And these physiological responses can be automatic with hormone fluctuations, friction, or response to normal patterns like sleep, having your morning wood, and that is not consent and that is not desire.
Yeah. And on the flip side of it, too, a lack of an erection doesn't mean a lack of desire either.
Yeah,
Like genital non-concordance is a
there we go.
thing.
Yep, some of us have hard cocks when we don't want sex or do want sex and are not able to get hard, and that's just all part of the human experience.
hmm Yeah. And on that note, you can have fantastic, sexy time without a hard on. There's like so many things that you can do with a soft cock. And I feel like soft cocks deserve more love.
Mm-hmm. And it's quite pleasurable actually to receive like any kind of love on a soft cock and not feel the pressure of like I've just had that where I'm receiving some sort of touch or oral sex and feeling like oh my god I have to get hard and then checking myself at the door and like no actually this is just pleasurable as is and I can just enjoy that pleasure.
Yeah, the number of times I have been with someone and I'm like going down on him and they're like, "Oh no, you don't. I don't think I'm gonna get hard like right now. Like you don't have to." I'm like, "Well, does it feel good?" Well, yeah. Okay then.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Great.
I'm like, I'm. This isn't. I'm not down here with any ulterior motives. There's not like a goal beyond like I like you and I want to touch your junk about it
Mm-hmm.
and giving you pleasure.
Lucky
So
you. Yeah,
exactly.
it just really touches on the sort of like corporate America version, all the Viagra and Cialis commercials. That's like, if you want to have sex, this is what it looks like. You have to have a hard cock. Like all of those, we're just pumping out commercials towards men and just messaging towards men that,
Pumping out. Was that
yeah.
intentional fun?
No, it's not intentional.
But no, it's true, and it really reinforces that whole like heteronormative thing of like the only sex that is real sex is penis and vagina sex,
Yeah,
or maybe penis and ass. But like, yeah, this
yeah,
over focus on penetration and just
yeah,
like being like phallocentric.
yeah. That's wild.
It is.
And we don't even have to go into all the thousands of other ways that we can have sex on this, maybe out of scope for this podcast, but there are a lot.
Yeah. I would say it's something in scope for this podcast, out of scope for this episode.
This
That will be
episode,
another
that's what I
episode.
mean.
If
That's what I
y'all,
mean.
if good lovers, if you want another episode that where Sam and I just list all the different ways that you can have fun with soft cock, please comment. Comment and let us know, and we'll make it happen. That might have to be on the Patreon only. We might. YouTube definitely won't allow that one.
Oh boy, yeah.
Yeah. So that's a lot. We've covered a lot. There's
Mm-hmm.
so much.
Yep, and there's thousands more, but this was all we had time for today.
Right? Yeah. So I would love to, like we've talked about all these different misconceptions and the ways that they can be harmful.
Mm-hmm.
So I would love to hear about the work that you do and kind of supporting people in their journeys, unlearning these things and combating these. Is your, like I said, like your sex coach, Sam, you're specifically a sex coach. So, um, tell me, how did you get there? Like, tell us, like, what's the journey of Sam?
Yeah, I've had a lot of, we talk about kind of having desire in the shadows. I've had a lot of that in my entire life and always thought there's a lot of these misconceptions that have really personally affected me. I had a really young experience of maybe being 15 or 16 years old. I was just like a really quiet kid, and I was called a creep, and it really stuck in there. And I just felt, on that like male sexual desire is predatory. Like I just felt like a predator, and I, for a long time, struggled with shutting myself off from my own desire. And that happened in so many different ways, from my desires around non monogamy to my desires around sex and sexuality and my own queerness, and so many different ways of exploring that I really was shut off to for a long time. And I sort of hit a period in my, I want to say my late 20s, where I was in a monogamous relationship and begging for sexual exploration, begging for, to at the time go to play parties and explore. And I had an experience with a man that was, had led me to believe like maybe I'm queer, and really wanting to explore it. And I just felt like my bubble was going to explode if I didn't. And that type of exploration wasn't supported. It wasn't welcome in that relationship container. And I ended up ending that container and then just going on a full kind of a rampage to exploring all my desires and
Yeah, your slut summer.
Yeah, slut summer. My men's just calling it the Renaissance.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, and so that really evolved into me having a lot of different kinds of sex, having the sex that I wanted to have, and realizing, and it just shifted. It shifted my outlook on life. It shifted my personality. I felt more at home in my body. I felt more excited to just greet the world. And that kind of evolved into a point where I realized I'm actually having the sex life I want to have. I'm having the relationships that I want to have, and that I feel like I deserve. What's next is to support other people in doing that for them, and looked into sex coaching, and here I am.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. So, what does sex coaching look like? I would love for you, if you can, for the good lovers, ex- say a little something about the difference between, a lot of times people hear sex coach and they hear sex therapist, like the number of friends and like acquaintances that have introduced me to someone else and like, oh yeah, Kat's a sex therapist. I'm like, no, 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 no. The coach, I'm the educator, but like, yeah. So we can speak to that and like, and your practice.
Yeah, I think people, either the misconceptions around sex coaching is that it's either the same as sex therapy, which it's not, or that it's sex work, which it's not. And so for me, sex coaching is a bit more free than therapy. We're a lot less regulated in terms of being able to explore with clients. Sometimes I do have just talk sessions with clients, but often I'll try to bring in some experiential practice that may or may not involve touch. And so I do two-way touch with clients. I have cuddling with clients. I will explore erotic energy. That's a big difference between sex coaching and therapy, is that in coaching, erotic energy is really welcome in the room, and we try to use that as a vehicle for growth.
And that's a big part of the Somatica method that
Exactly.
you're like, that you're trained in.
Exactly. Yep. We use that erotic energy. And again, it doesn't happen all the time. It's not for every session. It's not for every client. But when it's potent and it's there, it can be a really powerful avenue for exploration and growth. Is really allowing that fantasy to be there. We can get deep into erotic fantasy, into kink, into exploring desire in a lot of different ways that sex therapy just has a bit more limitation around. In sex therapy, you cannot touch your clients, or maybe you need a special release to do so. It's not two-way, it's a bit more one-way. And for coaching, it is really exploring what's alive in the room. And so that can be really two-way, where I do experience erotic energy with my clients and create a safe space for them to explore that.
Awesome.
Which is so fun for me.
Right.
It's fun for them too.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah, and it's, and just to hit the other extreme, it's a bit more boundary than sex work. So for my practice, it's a clothing on practice, and we do not uh, touch genitals. We're not touching towards orgasm. And so it just creates, those boundaries create a lot of avenue for us to explore in a safe way, in a consensual way, in a way that yields to a lot of growth for clients.
Right. And I would say that all of those things are true for forms of sex work too, but it's just holding a different container.
Exactly.
Yeah. Cool. Wow. Well, Sam and I are going to be working together on a few different projects as we move through the remainder of the year. I would love to hear, we went over like a lot of different stuff. A lot of, I'm sure a lot of our listeners today definitely like were able to relate with a lot of those different misconceptions and like societal messaging. So, can you tell us a little bit, how might you help someone who is working through some of these like cultural messaging? Give us like a taste of your work.
Yes, I've got a process for listeners on how you can start to unwind some of this harmful cultural messaging. And just to relate it back to my work, there's so many cultural misconceptions and messages around how sexuality should work for us. We just covered a bunch of them. And my work is really to help people discover what is true about their own sexuality and then empower them in finding that in the world and in their relationships. So I don't want to join the cacophony of voices out there about what we should do. What I strive to do is to help people in finding their inner voice and what is right for them.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, so I've kind of distilled, again, this is part of, what I do in my practice, and I've distilled it down into a 5-step process for you all. And so I'm excited to share that.
Awesome. Yes, we love a process framework. So, good lovers, get your notebook out.
Yep. So, number one is to reflect on where you're stuck or held back in your sex life. Are there areas you keep to yourself? Are there areas you feel closeted around? And since this one is such a common one, I'll just use penis size as an example to kind of walk us through this framework. But you might feel embarrassed by your size and think that you couldn't please anyone. On the other side, you may think that you're supposed to be, if you have a larger cock, you might think you're supposed to be dominant or tough and aggressive because of your size. Or maybe you think you're absolutely God's gift to the earth because you're so big.
There's definitely such a thing as too much of a good thing, by the way.
And the second step in the process is to I want to invite you to notice, any messaging that you've received. It might be one of the messages, it might be one of the misconceptions we covered above, it might be something different. And so you can ask yourself, like, what messages have I received around this? What messages stick with me? If there's stories that live in your head, things maybe your parents told you, things that you heard from friends, things you got shamed about. A lot of us will have some stories that kind of get lodged in there. And the third step is to get curious around where that messaging comes from. And again, sticking on the example of penis size, it could be social media, it could be rap, it could be porn. Just getting curious. Again, did it come from a friend in your childhood? Did it come from a comment in the locker room? Where did this message even come from? Because a lot of us have these messages in our head that are floating around, and we actually don't even know where they came from. For the fourth step, it's to ask yourself, does this feel true to me? Or is this just something that lives in my head? We're really just checking in. Do I really believe if it's true? Do I really believe that it's true? A lot of times when I'm coaching clients, we can unearth some of these messages. And I like to think of them as just these little parasites inside us. And first, we need to identify that they're there, look at them clearly, and then decide, do we want to keep these inside us or purge them? And for some of these, working with clients, I might have somebody close their eyes and really feel into their body. And we can share, and you can do this at home too. Either say the message out loud, write it down, whatever, expose yourself to that message in some way. So maybe it's for you around the penis size one as an example. It's like, my penis is too small and it's useless, something like that. So you write that on a piece of paper, close your eyes, and just check in with your body. Does it really feel true? You might have some reaction at first, and as you stick with it, do you notice yourself contracting? Do you notice yourself getting small? Like, how does it feel? Does it really feel true to you?
Wow, that's really powerful.
And then you get to decide if you want, if you want to keep that cultural message inside you, great, you're done. And if you want to purge it, we can ask, like, if this cultural message isn't true, what else could be true? So on the penis size example, it might be true that I feel dominant, even though I have a small penis. It might be true that I feel submissive, even though I have a large penis. It could be true that I've been able to satisfy all my partners, even with my penis as it is. It might be true that there's about a million other ways to satisfy my partners with my fingers, mouth, tongue, vibrators, dildos, cock extenders. So just asking yourself and really checking in, what else could be true around this?
Yeah, what is possible?
Mm-hmm. And it's an ongoing process, so you'll have to continue to notice when it comes up. Um, it's not like, oh, you do this process once and you're good, right? And this is what I work with folks on. And if you get stuck, of course, this is what I'm here for. This is what, the work I tend to love to do with clients of like unwinding some of the cultural messaging. But it's just so important to be able to look at these things. I think a lot of us keep things so deep in the darkness and the shadows of our own mind that we don't actually bring it to light enough to look at and figure out, do I want this message here? Is it just a parasite, or is it something that supports me in living my best life?
Yeah, this is really great clarity. So, would it be okay if I was to like share this framework for the good lovers on my Patreon?
Yeah, that'd
and
be great.
Connect, I'll have your links connected. And of course, for all of my listeners, Sam's links and information, of course, will be in the show notes or the video description if you're watching on YouTube. But real quick, this is a chance for you to like throw something out there, plug your pluggables.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at SexCoachSam. I'm also on FetLife at the same thing, at the same handle, at SexCoachSam. And then we'll be co-teaching the workshop coming up.
Yes. If you're in the Denver Boulder area and you've enjoyed this episode and you want the live version. Okay, maybe not quite. We'll be working on some other stuff, but I am bringing the Intimacy Experiment, which is a product of IC, the Institute for Sexual Education and Enlightenment. I'm bringing that workshop to Boulder, and Sam is going to be assisting and co-facilitating with me. So keep an eye out for that. There'll be a link for those dates as well. We've got 3 dates listed out on the calendar.
Mm-hmm.
Come join us and learn about different levels of intimacy.
Mm-hmm. And I'm excited to teach that with you. And then, my last plug is that, I support clients in developing agency and empowerment, navigating kink and non-monogamy, and having the best sex of your lives. So if you feel called either as an individual or in a couple or throuple, I'd love to support you in navigating some of these challenges. So you can find that through links through either Instagram or FetLife or on my website, which is samcharlescoaching.com.
Awesome. Thank you again so much for doing this.
Yeah, this is amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll have you on again. I would really love to have you as a guest host in the future.
I would love to.
Sweet. All right. So, my good lovers, thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks for listening. And as always, Stay curious and keep on good loving.